ball against this defense?
Well, they're very good. They got two corners that are really highly rated, and sometimes you go into a ball game and you see a guy's rating, and you come away from your study thinking, I'm not sure but these two guys are really good. So, we've got to be smart. We got to try to use our matchups that play to our advantage, and then at some point we got to win some one-on-one battles.
What changed and clicked later in the year for your offense?
We didn't do anything different other than the kids just more attention to detail. I thought we practiced, extremely well, and the kids just kept fighting. So it was good to see. Our seniors really stepped up. When we left Penn State, we really challenged the seniors that, okay, we need you to show us how to practice, and they did an excellent job.
When you look at this Florida defense, who do they remind you of out of Big Ten?
They play a lot of man-to-man, so that they would remind you of Michigan in that regard, because Michigan is a huge man-to-man team. The structure up front, very talented with guys that can rush the passer and take care of gaps. Well, I would probably say Michigan, but they're good on their own.
How was CJ through all the tough times when you dealt with him this year?
CJ was unbelievable. He was, I was asked earlier, well, you made a comment in August he might be the best that you'd ever coached. And CJ, his numbers would not reflect the kind of year he had and the way he handled, what we had to do. And he probably doesn't get enough credit for the job he does in the run game, because he does a tremendous job in that regard also.
How much of a challenge has the constant shuffling on the offensive line been for you in terms of game planning every week?
Well, it's a problem, but the one good thing that we do, and Brian has done it for 5 years, is in August we do a bunch of shuffling, even when everybody's healthy. So you kind of go into the season hoping that you start the same 5 for 12 ball games, knowing you probably won't. So a lot of guys had already moved prior to the game that they had to move, but it's disconcerting because two guys that play side by side, they get a language all their own, and so even though the next guy understands everything and is playing hard, it's just a little different not having the guy there that you've worked with the most.
What did Akram mean to this offense, especially in that Michigan game?
Well, Akram is not only a good runner, he's a good receiver, and he's a guy in space that's really hard to corral. And so, he just continues to get better. And then, you talk about Akram. It's the first time we've seen LaShawn Daniels healthy for a whole season. And so, the season he had, a big part of it was he was just healthy for the first time.
Chance of rain Monday possibly, does that impact you at all?
No, not really. I mean, we're going to do what we do whether or not it rains, or it probably won't snow, but if it does, we'll be ready for that.
A lot of, during this time, you got a little extra time to throw in some extra things. Have you thrown in any extra things?
Well, one thing you have to guard against in bowl games, really and truly, is you have too much time. And so, you look and you say, well, maybe this, maybe that. So we did some of that in Iowa City. But before we got ready to leave, we kind of trimmed the fat, if you will. There's a couple things, obviously, that you've had time that you think matches what they do. And hopefully we'll have an opportunity to use those.
How have you guys developed a wide receiver this year? It's been, a tough year losing Matt and everything. How have some of those guys developed?
Well, I think they have worked extremely hard. Losing Matt had a tremendous ripple effect, because what it did was it took Riley, who played in our 3 wide receiver set and was very, very good B in our language, and now we had to move him inside. And so the number of snaps he was playing a game went out of sight. And by moving him inside, then we had to play a couple guys that had not had as many snaps as Riley had out there, and CJ wasn't quite as comfortable with exactly where they were going to be. So even though Riley moved inside and did a tremendous job, really played well, it was a ripple effect. To the question, I think Germ is continuing to grow, and both Falconer and Devontae have done some things during this month. We've had probably 15 practices before we got here. So they've had 15 more times with CJ. So hopefully they've gotten better. I feel like they have.
What about Jay Shield? So much hype about him, partly our fault in the preseason.
Well,
Don't look at me, man.
it's the first time ever. I've only done this 43 years. The first time ever. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like to confess my sins when I can. Yeah. No, but seriously, he ends up with 5 catches.
Yeah.
What was his season like in your eyes?
I'm sure it was frustrating because Jay he was really pushing hard in August. In fact, when we talked in August, we wasn't sure who was going to start at the X receiver in the first ball game, and then he got nicked, and even now, he's got some inflammation in. He's not stayed healthy. He's not stayed healthy, and where it has really hurt him is at the end of routes. It's not running. You can't see him running and say, well, he looks like he's limping, but it's at the end of routes when all the stress goes down to planting and getting out. That's where it's hurting.
What kind of progress have you seen from Nathan Stanley, and how does he? Is he the kind of heir apparent today for what's going to happen in 2017?
Well, Nate has exceeded expectations for a freshman. When we signed him, I told him, plan on redshirting, but expect to play. Okay, and what I meant was, don't take the summer off. Work hard, but you'll probably redshirt. But he just kept doing things in camp that was not freshman-like. He didn't repeat mistakes. All the pointing that we do all has a reason. Mentally, he was on top of it. And so we had a long discussion in August. If CJ stays healthy, is this the right thing? Is it not the right thing? And we decided, hey, he'll be better in spring if he is the number 2 guy. So he's made great progress. Second part of your question is this: it'll be open competition in the spring. I mean, CJ's leaving, and both he and Weeks and Drew Cook, they'll all get some reps, and it'll be open competition.
What do you expect to see from him when you're coaching him in the spring?
Well, he's a bright guy. He's got a big arm. He's got to really work on the little things that big arm guys have to work on, and that's anticipation, trusting your feet. He hasn't seen a ton of blitz work yet, so those are things that we have to work on in spring and summer.
Did you pick up on that, how he kind of snuck that when you're coaching him in the spring part in there?
Yeah.
Did you pick up on that?
I did. I picked up on it was our fault.
What was it like calling passing plays for this offense in November when everybody kind of knew the options were whittled down?
Yeah.
Was it frustrating?
Well, the thing that our guys did such a good job is the team understood. I would say in September we were functioning early pretty well. We were doing things, and everybody was excited. And as the season went on, we couldn't do those things. And so, we chose to do the things that we felt like gave us the best chance to win. And that was to get bigger as our tight ends got healthy, to get bigger, and to run the ball and try to use play actions. And the whole point of calling plays, whether or not whatever style offense you're in, all you're trying to do is win. And
Right.
so that's what we did.
Akram, you talked about earlier about his growth. Him in the Michigan game, did you envision a role like